A lot to get to, from face masks to taxes. Lawmakers have a lot to discuss in this new session. So to break it all down and give us a better idea of what we can expect to see in this session is joining us live Associate Director of the Hinckley Institute of Politics, Morgan Lyon-Cotti. Thanks so much for being here today.
Happy to be here.
So I guess first off, what are the big issues for state lawmakers this session?
Well, we just heard about some of those controversial ones. I'm sure those that we will be discussing more. But one of the things that we're hearing a lot about is the amount of money that the legislature has. A lot of this is leftover money from the federal stimulus bill, but lawmakers are really discussing, should they put it towards big projects, especially like the Great Salt Lake, or should they be providing tax cuts? And we've seen a number of different types of proposals to cut those taxes.
Absolutely. And so speaking of tax cuts, obviously that's a big thing that a lot of people want to know because it impacts everybody at home. What are you expecting to see with those? How much would those be?
So we've seen a few proposals to cut the income tax rate. Currently, it stands at 4.95%. So we've seen a range all the way down to 4.6% to 4.9%. There's also talks about changing the sales tax. Remember, a few years ago, there was discussions about increasing the sales tax on food. There's talks about decreasing that now, more targeted discussions. So really, we're going to have a pretty robust discussion about taxation in Utah and what it should look like.
Okay, that's definitely something for all of us at home to be looking out for. Turning now to COVID, obviously it's a huge talker, mask orders specifically. Do you expect the legislature to allow local governments to kind of implement their own rules, or do you expect this to be a talker in the upcoming session?
So this was a big topic last year, and the policies that we have now were enacted last year, that you have to have the county governments having that dual role in implementing those mask mandates. And especially after the past couple weeks with the controversies with the Salt Lake County mask mandate, we're hearing the legislature wants to perhaps tweak that. We might see them just leave it alone, but we'll at least hear some discussions about possibly creating another level or another layer of enforcement to create those mandates.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a big topic of controversy, seeing all the different ways people want to go. So that's something to watch out for. And in terms of just COVID in general, do you think it's going to affect this session at all?
It will. It did last year, and it's affecting this year as well. We'll still see masks. The legislature has announced that it will be testing staff, legislators, and even those interns twice a week to try to keep people safe. I don't think you'll see everybody wearing a mask up there, but it's still going to look like a pretty COVID session.
Okay, and then another big controversy right now is the recent voting rights controversy. How do you think that's going to play out with lawmakers?
Yeah, we've seen lawmakers say that they want a legislative audit of Utah's election. That's different than what our state auditor does, but it would look over how things have gone with the recent elections. We've also seen there's a petition a signature gathering effort to change Utah's elections. So they just happened on election day. We don't have any of that early voting. So there will be a lot of discussion. I'm not sure how much change we'll see. Utah's lieutenant governor and governor have been very strong on their support for early voting, for vote by mail, for making voting accessible. So we'll see a debate, but I'm not sure how much change we'll see.
Okay, and I'm really curious to hear from you. What would you say like the biggest thing everyday people will notice coming out of this session when it's all over with?
They should definitely be watching issues surrounding water, which sounds very boring, but really there's a very big focus on the Great Salt Lake. And as the Great Salt Lake shrinks, it affects our economy, it affects our snowpack and tourism. And even very conservative legislators are very focused on what we can do to change water rights, to change water use in order to save the Great Salt Lake. And that will affect all of us and our everyday use of water.
Yes, it will. Great Salt Lake is huge. There's so much I want to get into, but we are running out of time. Thank you so much for being here, Morgan. And I'm sure we're going to check back in with you shortly after this session starts taking place. So thank you again for taking the time.
Thank you.
And